we have that. Okay, here we are. We've opened up the Illustrator file, the exercise 2 shapes file, and I have it set up with 4 artboards and a color palette. The first thing I'd like us to do is set up our workspace so that I want to get yours looking like mine. And that is, I want you to go up to Window and go to Workspace and choose Painting, the Painting workspace. That's going to give you all of these windows open on the right with the colors and the strokes and the symbols, all of that to the right. And so when you open up the file, it might already be on Workspace Painting because that's what I built it in, but in case it's not, go ahead and change it to Painting. And then let's go ahead and name this file right off the bat. What I want to get us used to doing is naming our files. One of the things I've learned this last year is that when I download these files at the end of the project, and I have 20 files that say exercise 1, that's a problem. I don't know whose is whose. So it's really important, and it's a good, habit to get into is to name your files with your name. So the naming convention I'd like you to use, and we're going to go ahead and save our file right now, is to go ahead and save it as, on your computer, or if you do it on the cloud, that's fine too. But I want you to go ahead and ahead of the file name I've given you to put your first name, underscore, last name, underscore, and then you can use the file name I've given you, which is EX2 underscore shapes .ai. So that your name is the first thing up in front of the project we're working on. So usually you want to put the project name on it, which for this example is EX2 shapes. You can even add in, if you want, DI2, which is digital illustration 2. Also for you to keep track of your files you're doing for each of your classes. So go ahead and name your file and then put it into your folder for this class so that you have it named right at the get-go with your name on it. Okay, so let's start with that. Okay, so then you want to go ahead and select all the colors. I've given you a color palette here to start with, and basically giving you, and this is something I want you to think about when you're setting up your colors for your project. You want to think about maybe starting off with a color, some cool colors, like picking out some cool colors that work for you. And so you can see here, I've started with creating a color palette of cool colors, and then thinking about a color palette of warm colors. Like what would be some warm colors that balance out those cool colors? And then also creating a color palette of neutrals. And so when we get into this assignment we're about to start, you want to start with thinking about color. How does color help communicate furthering your message of your design? So coming up with a color palette that has both cool and warm and neutral colors can be really helpful when we're talking about illustration. We're going to be working with a lot more colors than we will be if you were just doing a logo or a small brand project. This should be, you're going to have a lot more colors you want to be working with. And we want to take our colors and select them all. And once we have them all selected, we want to take and bring them into swatches. So and actually I've already given them to you, but I want to show you how to do it. I've already given them to, if you look over the right swatch menu, you can see all of the colors are actually already over there, but I want to show you how I did it. And so we're going to go to Window. Where are they? Swatches. When I already have it open, that's how you get to it. And I already have it over here. And you want to go new color group. And so you can call, this your shape design palette. And I'm choosing selected artwork because I've already, they're in the artwork. And I want to make sure that all of them are global colors. And I also want to include swatches for tints. I'm going to say, okay. And then you can see over here, I got a second palette made right here. So it's the same as the one above because it's the same colors essentially. The other thing you could do when you're working, if you want to keep palettes separated, you can just choose like the cool palette and then go over here and say new color group and call this your cool colors. And then say, okay. And then I have a separate palette of just my cool colors. I can do the same with my warm colors, new color group. Say, okay. And then my neutrals, so that I've also broken my color palettes into each one. So now I have them also separated into each one. So now I can, when I'm doing color work later as we get going along, I can choose all the colors, or I can choose each individual color group. Okay. So that's setting up our color palettes. The other thing we're going to want to do as a setup part is turn on smart guides. And how you do that is you go to view and you go smart guides. Now I have mine turned on, and that's going to help us as we're designing to have, when we're designing, you're going to see as I'm moving around, you see these little guides popping up. Those are my smart guides that are popping up, and they're showing me how I'm aligning things, what's aligning where. And so that's really helpful when we're designing, especially using geometry, as we're going to be doing. Okay, is everyone clear on making their color groups and the color palettes and understanding the global colors, making sure their colors are global? Okay. Great, thank you. All right, so we're going to jump into custom shapes. So I'm going to go into my file now, and you have a space to work, and this is what we're going to be creating. So I'm going to show you. These are the shapes we're going to start creating. Okay, so the first one is this first flower we're going to create. We're going to start with understanding, before I even jump into the custom shapes, what are the shapes we have? So underneath the rectangle tool, when I click and hold it down, you'll see that there's the rectangle tool, the rounded rectangle tool, the ellipse tool, the polygon tool, the star tool, and there's a flare tool. I don't really use this tool. I have never had a need for it, so I don't really know what that one does. I don't really ever use it. But if there's a fan of the flare tool here, I'm always happy for you to show me the reasons of why it's a good tool and why you would use it. So always open to learning. So let's start with a few key things with just the regular shapes before we get into these custom shapes. That is, when you start with a square, for example, you can see that when I start making the square and I'm pulling it out, it can be made into a rectangle or a square, any way we want. If I hold my shift key down while I'm moving it, you can see that it now is moving and staying in a perfect square. It is no longer turning into a rectangle. Other things to be aware of, notice that it's always starting in the upper left-hand corner when I'm making a square or a rectangle. It's always in the upper left-hand corner, and it's pulling down to the right. If I hold my Option key down, it's now making my square or rectangle out of the middle of the shape. So that gives us different choices, and I can hold the Shift key down along with the Option key, and now it's staying perfect squares, but building that square out from the middle of the shape. So those are some handy things to be aware of, and that's true not just for the square, it's true for anything. If I'm doing a circle, same thing, it's coming from the upper left. If I hold the Shift key down, it keeps my circle perfect. And if I hold the Option key down, I'm building from the center, Shift and Option, is giving me perfect circles coming and building out of the center. They also make, when we're talking about things like the polygon and the square, holding the shift key down, gives me the perfect polygon. When I'm not holding the shift key down, notice how the points can go any direction. When I hold the shift key down though, they stay in this orientation, perfectly symmetrical. So that's how that works with the polygon. And the same thing if I hold the option key down and the shift key down, it's building from the center versus the left, okay? To change the amount on a polygon, to change the amount of sides, you can use the up and down arrow keys. So if I'm on, oops, I'm not on the right tool. If I'm on the polygon, let me go back to the polygon, and I'm pulling it out and I want to change the different sides, I'm going to use the arrow keys, and up and down arrow keys will change the amount of sides. So you can try that with your arrow keys until it makes almost a perfect circle. And we can go all the way back to a square. Okay, so those are some features of that. And then delete these and then go into the star, our last tool on here. Same thing, we're gonna, without touching any buttons, just free-forming it. This is how it comes out. If I hold my shift key down, it straightens it out and makes it so that point is at the very top. It makes it symmetrical. If I pull it out and use my arrow keys, you can add more points to your star and make it more of a burst. Now it looks more like a sunburst, right? And you can keep going. I can then again hold my shift key down, keep it symmetrical. I can use my option key to adjust that inner circle. Okay, so that are some tools with the basic shapes we have. Okay, any questions about, just creating basic shapes before we move into these custom shapes? Okay, I'm gonna try to keep my chat here so I can see it. Okay. Okay, so then we're going to move into these custom shapes. So we're going to start making, like, how do we make these flowers? We have a couple flowers we're going to make, a snowflake, leaves, etc. So let's start with always like these basic shapes. So I'm going to start with the polygon tool. I'm going to go into the polygon tool. I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to adjust my shapes. Leave it to be the basic one. So I'm going to grab it. I'm going to change its color. I don't like having everything in black, so I'm going to choose one of my colors here. I'm going to zoom in so we can see me working on just this polygon now. Here's the. Go ahead.
Someone put a question in the chat. For the assignment, do we recreate these shapes?
Yes, you're going to be working with me. Yep. I'm going to walk you through how to make these. So for this exercise, you're making these shapes. Yep. Working right along with me so that I know that you understand how to make these shapes. So the first one is this flower. So we're going to take the polygon and we're going to go up to effect. And then we're going to go to distort and transform. Okay, and then pucker and bloat. Once you get there, you can adjust this to your liking. In order to see it, you have to make sure this preview button is selected. So adjusting the pucker and bloat, this is the bloat side, will give you these flower petal type shapes. If we were to go the other way, you kind of get this like star shape, like, you know, twinkling star kind of graphic you see a lot of times. But we're going to focus on the bloat side right now because we're going to make flowers. And so here is, it's kind of like these daisy kind of shapes. So here's the bloat I'm going to use. You can use any percentage you want. I'm going to say okay. And so here is my design that I like. And notice how I can still see the polygon. It's still there. In order to make this, to get this to be final, I want to expand it. So I'm going to go up to Object, and then I'm going to go to Expand Appearance. There it is. Sorry, I'm having a moment. Expand Appearance. There we go. And so now I have the outline of the flower. There's no more polygon there. I've now expanded it to be just this flower. And then I want to add a circle using the ellipse tool to the center. I'm going to hold the Option down and the Shift key down so I can build it right from the center, so I can center it on my flower. So there it is. I'm going to choose a color, one of my yellows, to give it a center. And so here I have, you know, a flower with the center added to it. I can also align, I can also take and make this a hole in the middle of my flower. I think for this one, I've made my petals a little too wide for the one with the hole. Here's this one in the hole. I kind of realized I actually went into this one more for this one, but we'll.
Sorry. So how do you get in the center again?
Option key.
Okay.
You mean to make the circle from the center? Is that your question? Yeah, so I'll do it again. So here it is. You use the circle, hold your Option key and your Shift key down, and it pulls it from the center.
Okay.
You see that? Good question. We can also align them by, you know, selecting. You have both of them selected. And if we go into, oh, my Zoom thing is in the way. Let me move Zoom. You go over here, up here on the top, you'll see these are your alignment tools. So I can align both ways. Now notice, because I have an uneven shape, it's not really using these alignment tools isn't working for me with this design, right? Because it's too uneven. So I'm going to use just my eyeball to align this the way I want it. The alignment tools are not going to work for me. I'm using more my own vision for how I want to align them because of the uneven nature of my shape. So we're going to make another one. I'm going to make another one with a little shorter petals so that I can cut the hole out. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. So I'm going to grab a polygon again. I'm going to make a polygon. Actually, I'm going to make a polygon. I'm going to add one more side to make it six-sided. Okay, I'm going to then go up to Effect, Distort and Transform, Pucker and Bloat. And this time I'm going to make the petals not come quite so deep as I did last time. So I'm going to be like kind of in the 50% range for my bloat. say okay. Now I've done a 6-sided polygon, so I have a little bit more symmetrical flower. I'm going to do the same thing I did last time, which is go to Object, Expand Appearance. And that expands it into my flower. I'm going to grab the ellipse tool and I'm going to go right to the center of my flower and hold the Shift and Option key down to bring my circle into the center. And I'm going to change the color so you can see it. Now this time I am going to select them both and use my alignment tools because I have a more symmetrical shape. So there, I've just aligned them. They were pretty already aligned, so they didn't really move much. Here's the other one. Okay, so now this time I want to go to Pathfinder and minus the front to create a hole in the center of my flower. So I'm going to select both items and I'm going to go into Pathfinder. And this is the little button that takes us to Pathfinder. And we want to do minus front, which is the second shape mode. And once I click that, it deletes my circle. And so I'm going to show you with a color behind it that you can see through it. Object arrange, send it back. So now you can see that my flower has a hole in it. So it's now a flower with a hole, not a circle on top. Amber, yeah, I see you have your hand up.
For the first shape, is there a way to make, because right now it's still technically 2 shapes, is there a way to make it 1, or is that something that we would want to do?
If you make it 1, it all would have to be the same color. And because I want 2 separate colors, I need to keep it 2 shapes. However, I can group them so that they stay together. So right now I can select both of them and go up to Object, Group, and that allows me to keep them together. And that keeps them like moving together. If I didn't do that, I'm going to undo what I just did. If I didn't do that and I just move my flower, you can see, yeah, I would lose my center. So if I want to keep them together, I select both. I go to Object, Group, and they can stay together.
Okay. Is there a way to use like compound path to make something 2 colors, or it could still only be 1 color, right?
It would still only be a compound path is actually another way of doing what I just did here. This is like essentially a compound path.
Okay.
So like the old way of doing what I just did with Pathfinder would have been making this a compound path.
Oh, okay.
I can even show you that because that's what I used to do back in the day. Back in the good old days. So when you had to do everything with many more steps. This would have been, if you take 2 objects, and I'll just do it as simply. So if I had one object here, which would be, let's say, the flower, and then I had another object that I wanted to make a hole, right? So I want to make a hole in this rectangle, which is essentially what we did with the flower. So if I wanted to make a hole in a shape, I would select the 2 shapes and I can go to Object, Compound Path, Make. Does the same thing.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought they were different.
The exact same thing. It's just another, and you know what, that's something actually, Amber, you're bringing up a good point for everyone to realize. In Illustrator, there's usually 3 ways to do the same thing. And it's because everyone does things, has their own way. So even if I'm showing you something and kind of like Amber was thinking, oh, wait a minute, but I know this is how I would do a compound path. It is. So compound path or Pathfinder minus front do the exact same thing. They do the exact same thing. It's just more of a 1 click over here than, going the other way. And it's just that this is the old way. This is kind of the new way. But they both work and you can use them both. And if you're more comfortable with compound paths, that's totally fine. But yeah, That's something to keep in mind. So if you are in another class, for example, and someone else teaches you something different than I did, but you get to the same result, that's okay. Because most of the time, there are 3 different ways to do something. What's the third way here? I don't know offhand, but I'm sure there is one. So that's something to keep in mind. Good questions, though. Any other questions before I move to the next thing? Oh, and yes, Alt on the PC, right? Okay, so you guys should have 2 flowers on your board right now. And now we're going to move into this next one. Oh, actually, no, what I'm going to say is, sorry. This is my reminder. Now I want you to make your own. So this is just me kind of playing around with a couple different and layering them. So what I want you to do now that you've use these 2, I want you to make your own, like kind of come up with, you can layer multiple flowers like this. You can, work with making holes in them or adding shapes to them. So now I want you all to make a flower of your own making using pucker and bloat and the polygons. Try different amounts of sides on the polygon. So yeah, now it's make your own. And once you finish your own flower, feel free to do a little screenshot of it. Like I'm going to share you right here, do a little screen grab of it and put it on your Slack channel. Show us what your flower is that you just did. Okay. I just popped mine up on the Slack channel under my channel. And yeah, show us what you came up with.
Did you want us to put it in our channel or like a general channel so they all can be like on the same thread?
Oh, just put it in your channel. I think that's fine. Add flower to your channel. Although you're right, maybe it would be more fun. And you know what? Let's put it in the chat room. You know what? We don't have anything in the chat room yet. Let's put it in the chat room. That's a good idea. And then they'll all read together. That might be fun. You can put it both places if you want. All right. Be our little flower garden this morning as we're in, in summer. All right, Nathan, nice. Jessica, I like all the color combinations. Nice. So it's fun. It's fun to kind of think about little ways to kind of explore, custom shapes and how these can be expanded upon. Give everyone a chance to do that before we move on to the next thing. Oh, Lily's playing with the blend tool. Amber, okay, fun. I love it. Nice. Look at them as they come in. That's some nice ones so far. All right. Nice, Martin. Amber, yeah. Did you have another question or is that from before?
No, I did have a question.
Okay.
This is kind of a random question, and I don't know if you're going to touch on this later in the class, but can you show us how to use the recolor artwork function?
That's part of our demo today. You will get that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right, cool.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to use that a lot in this project, in this semester, I should say.
Okay, because I've tried playing around with it before, but I don't know. It's kind of like complicated, but I know it's like simple at the same time. So.
Well, I'm going to tell you, one of the key things with using recolor is something we've already done with our setup, and that is you have to make your colors global colors.
Okay.
So that's one of the big, like, hack, like the thing that's important. Like, if you have to work in global colors. So when I had you guys set up your palettes as global, the reason that is it's going to be very important for us using recolor later on.
Okay, gotcha.
That's one of the reasons it's going to be important. Okay, nice. Like how Leo, yours look like it has like shadows. Nice, Claudia, nice. Okay, so some nice ones. This black one, Jenny, very moody. I like it. They're making some cool ones. Right. Good, 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 good. Nice. A few more of you. We're going. A few more. Want to get them up, and then we're gonna move on to the next one. I'm gonna give you another couple minutes. Those of you who are already done, if you want to make another one, feel free. I just want to give everyone a chance to get theirs done before we move on. Might get ideas seeing some of the others. I like how the layering ones start to make them really feel like chrysanthemums or something, very like full and fluffy. Nice. Okay, good, 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 good. Is anyone having any issues or problems? Does anyone have a question? Let's see the chat here. How do we do a screenshot? Okay. Did everyone get that? Oh, I see that someone's already put that in there. Great. Yep. On the Mac, it's Command Shift 4. If you're on a PC, it's Clippy, I think it's called Clip Shot. Who's a PC user? What do you guys call it? Clip? I'm not on a PC. Who are my PC friends? Okay, there you go. Thank you, Jessica. Windows key, Shift S. if you're on a Windows. Oh, Liz, that's look cool. Very cool. Yari, it looks awesome. Great. Ineza, that's looking awesome. Great. Okay, we're seeing some cool things. Okay. All right, I'm going to keep moving. I think most of us are here. Next step is I'm going to walk us through making this, which we're going to call a snowflake, the snowflake shape. And it's really kind of just walking us through how do we combine shapes and then making, making them, duplicating them and rotating them. So let's start with our perfect ellipse. We're going to start with Option, Shift. So I make a perfect circle. I'm going to start with my circle and make it my snowflake color, which is blue. I'm then going to make a rectangle for the stem of it. And I'm just going to make a rectangle. So I have a rectangle and a circle, and I want to align them and make sure that they're perfectly aligned. They're two separate pieces. And so how I'm going to do that is select, have them both selected, select one to be the alignment item and go up here to my alignments and center it so that they're perfectly centered. So now I have them perfectly centered, although I think my stem feels a little too thick. So I'm going to narrow it. Now I've taken it out of center. So I'm going to select them both, holding my shift key down. Actually, hold them both, holding my shift key down. Not holding my shift key down, sorry. Select the circle, and then I'm going to use my horizontal align, and I can see that my rectangle is now aligned. So now I have my little spoke, if you will. So here it is. I'm going to do two things. I can make this a united shape. I can go up here to Pathfinder and unite them so they're one single shape. So now I have one single shape. It's not a circle and a rectangle anymore. It's now a continuous shape, which I like to do. Let me zoom in so you can see that better. Okay, so now I have my shape and I want to duplicate this. So I'm going to hold down, Option to make a duplicate stem. And you can see I have two little arrows here. And before I do that, I have to hit the rotate. Sorry, I want to rotate it. I'm not just duplicating, I'm rotating and duplicating. So I'm going to start with the rotate tool over here, click rotate. Notice how when I use the rotate tool, it goes to the center of the shape. And then, so if I rotate it right now, it's going to rotate like this, right around the center. That's not what I want. I want it to rotate from the base. So I'm going to move my rotation point down here. So now when I rotate it, it would be rotating like this. That's very important. So my rotation tool is down here. Now I'm going to hold the Option key down. So I'm going to hold an Option key, cancel to, hold on. I gotta hold the rotation first and then the Option key to pull it down. And I can pull it down any distance I want. If I hold the Shift key down, it will do it in quarter increments. So I'm going to use the Shift key to give me it on a quarter increment. And then I'm going to let go. And now I want to duplicate this move that I just did, a rotation and a duplication. And so I'm going to use the Command D, undo. Command, wait a minute, what am I doing wrong here? Hold on a minute. I think hold on, I think I let go of it too quickly. Let's try it one more time. I'm gonna move my rotation point down here. Hold the Option key, rotate it to where I want it. Go right there. And now immediately I'm gonna do Command D. And I keep hitting Command D and it's going all the way around my circle. Give you a little out so you can see that. And so I can look at it and go, I want it to be a little, it's not quite even. You see, I don't have it quite even there. I don't really care for that. So I'm going to undo. Go back, we'll do it one more time. I'm going to grab my rotation, hold my Option key down, hold my Shift key down with it, and it puts it at a 45-degree angle. And now I'm going to do Command D. And now it's going to be perfectly spaced. I see a question. For some reason, the crosshairs resets when I try to rotate. Let's try it again together and see how that works. So we have our, I'm grabbing my, I grab my shape. So I have my shape. I'm going to go to rotate, move my crosshairs down here. Now I just click it once and then I hold my Option key down and pull and hold my Shift key down so that it's at a 45. And then I go Command D, Command D. Did you try it again, Al? Is it, or do you want to share your screen and then I can maybe see what's happening? It worked this time. Okay, good. Sometimes it just takes a couple times. You can see even for me, sometimes I have to just redo it a couple times. This is a little tricky. There's a lot of steps. So this is why this one I'd like you to, try a couple times. It's tricky. I'm asking you to hold a lot of keys down at once. There's a lot of steps. I do have the notes on Blackboard, so you can kind of look at it to kind of also, if it's easier sometimes for us to read than to watch, but I want to make sure we all are kind of seeing how this works. Okay. Everyone got this? Okay. I'm looking at the chat and I don't see any, I think everyone has it. Okay, so the next step, let's go back to the next step, is we're gonna add a center circle to the design and to align it and complete the snowflake. So now we're just gonna go to our circle, our ellipse tool. Again, we wanna go from the middle. So we're gonna hold the Option key down and the Shift key down because we wanna work right from the middle. And you can see because I'm using smart guides, I can kind of see the center point pretty quickly. I'm going to zoom up so you can see what I'm talking about. You can see my smart guides are helping me. I'm holding my Shift and my Option key down. My smart guides are helping me know where to start my circle right there. So I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to make my circle, a darker blue. And there it is. And so now I'm going to select everything and I'm going to select the inner circle and I want to, oopsie, I want to make sure that they're all aligned. Actually, I think I need to do it on one of these guys. Nope. Just need to make this align on this. There we go. So that is your completed circle. Now you want to go ahead and select everything and now group. Command G is group. And that keeps it all together as a group. If you don't do that, right now, everything is a separate object. So if again, I go over here and I go Shift Option, I'm gonna build it from my intersection out. And if I don't group them and I go to move something, only one item is going to move. So you want to use your selection tool, select everything and Command G and group it. So now it's an object that can move together. Okay. Everyone has a snowflake. And then last but not least for our shapes is leaves. We're going to do leaves. Now this is a pretty simple one, but like the flowers, there's a couple different ways to do it. So I'm going to start by making an oval, and I'm freehanding it. I don't have my hand on any other shape. I have one oval, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to go ahead and use Option key and hold the Shift key so I have it equal, and I'm going to make this a different color so you can see it. And so I have two ovals that are overlapping. 1, 2. I'm going to go ahead and align them using the align. There we go. Now they're perfectly aligned. I have two. So there are two ways that you can do this. One is using the Pathfinder tool. You have our handy Pathfinder tool right here. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to use the intersect tool. And once I do that, boom, there's a leaf. Got rid of the other two shapes. This is the nice thing about Pathfinder is it's kind of the one and done click, which I really like. And so this is kind of easy. It makes it your work time go faster. It works really easy. But there's another way to do this. So I'm going to undo what I just did and show you another tool that you can use to do the same thing. And that is called the Shape Builder tool. And this is a newer tool. And so I've selected the Shape Builder tool, and you're going to see, or actually, hold on, I didn't select. I'm going to select everything and then choose the Shape Builder tool. And then you're going to see when I roll over things, it's going to like shade them slightly. Now I'm not clicking yet. I'm going to click on the center. And then once I do that, I can now go up to my direct select tool and I can then delete, and I have my leaf. But you can see that was a little bit more work than the Pathfinder tool, but it does the same effect. So try both ways and you get an idea of how they work. And I have a leaf. Now, if you see my example up here, I have a leaf that has two different colors. So let me show you how I did that. I'm going to make a copy. So I have a couple different here. So I'm going to take my leaf and go to my scissors tool. Hold on a minute. This is the only thing with me. Sometimes I got to think about where my scissor tool, there it is, it's under the eraser. It's under the eraser, the scissors tool. I sometimes have to look because I have like 30 years of Adobe Illustrator in my head and tools move around and then I forget where they are. So I have the scissors tool. I'm going to click on the top anchor point. I'm going to click on the bottom anchor point. And now I'm going to use my direct select tool and pull them apart. Now I have two separate halves. So I can now make my leaf one half this color and then have this be a different color. And then I can put them back together and I can group them. They move together as one. I can also, I'm going to undo, have them separate. And I can complete the shape because right now it's, if I took off the fill and made it an outline, you can see it's just the outline. It's not a complete shape. So the fill is making it finish the shape. So what I can do is just take the pen tool and click at the top. Oops. Click on the top and click on the bottom. And now you'll see this is a complete shape that's filled. I can do the same on this one. Grab the pen tool, click on the top and on the bottom. And now you can see this one is a complete shape. So now I can put the two complete shapes together, group them. Oops, hold on, group them. And now they're going to move together as a group. What in the world? Why isn't it grouping? What did I not select? Command G, group. Okay, there they are. What's going on? Okay, is everyone with me on the grouping?
I have a question. What tool did you use when you grabbed the top and the bottom to make it two separate shapes?
The scissors tool, and you'll find that under the eraser tool. It's kind of hidden. So if you click on the eraser tool, you'll find the scissors tool.
Okay.
Do you see it? It's under your eraser tool. I have it kind of highlighted on the screen if you can see that.
Yes, I got the scissors. So then you click the bottom and the top.
Yep, so you come over here and you'll click the top anchor and the bottom anchor. And then I use the direct select tool, which is the white arrow, and I can pull them apart.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Sure. Good question. Anyone else? Okay, and I have one more example of like, oh, go ahead.
How do we make these leaf shapes again?
How do you make the leaf shape from the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to use two ovals. You're going to use the ellipse tool.
And then you cut them in half with the scissors.
No, that's not how we make the leaf shape. To make the leaf shape, we're using two ovals.
Okay.
You make one oval. So if you're watching the screen, you'll see I made one oval. I used Option and I pulled another oval out. I'm going to make it a different color so you can see it.
Oh.
So I have two ovals and I'm aligning them. Do you see that? The two ovals? So I've selected both ovals and I've gone over here to Pathfinder Intersect, and that makes my leaf.
Got it.
Good. All right. Okay, so then you can also make, so for example, I'm giving you this example up here where I've made like the, I've made the kind of veins in the leaf. So you can see I'm using the same technique I used in my snowflake. So you too can do that as well. So if we want to, I'm gonna make it a little bigger so you can see. It's starting to look like a lemon. I think I'm gonna change it back to green. Starting to feel like a lemon to me. All right, so here we go. Here is the leaf. And I wanna make, I'm gonna make this kind of vein. I'm gonna start with a little circle. I'm gonna make yellow and a rectangle, just like I made when I was doing the snowflake. And I want to center my rectangle on the circle. So I'm going to quickly align it. And I'm going to go ahead and make this a shape by using the Pathfinder Unite tool. So here's my stem of my, I want to align that with my leaf. So I have the stem and the leaf aligning. I'm going to use the Align tool. So now I have those two where I want them. I'm going to make a second smaller little circle, which is going to be a little smaller. And I'm using the rounded rectangle. Make this kind of shorter. I'm going to line those two together. And so there's my stem. I feel like this circle should be a little bigger proportionately. See, my smart guides are really helping me make these alignments as well. I'm gonna go ahead and I want to make sure that's aligned, which it is, and then I'm going to go ahead and unite it to make it its own shape. So now I need to rotate this into the stem that I've created. Again, the rotate is going to happen right in the center. That's okay for what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to leave it. I don't need to move it. And I'm going to rotate it so it's on the angle I want. I'm going to use the shift key. That gives me the 45-degree angle. So I know it's perfectly 45. I'm going to move it into position. And now I'm going to use the option key to duplicate it and get the next one where I want it. I'm going to go like that. And then I'm going to use Command D to make 2 more copies. So now I have 4. I'm going to select all of them. Okay. And now I'm going to copy them. I'm going to use the option key down to copy them. So I've made a copy of these. And now I want to just reflect them. So there's a tool on the other side of, when I hold down the rotation tool, there's a reflect tool. I'm going to pull that down. And I'm going to click on the top. I'm going to hold my shift key down and click down here at the bottom. And that just reflects them right into position. See how handy that is? And boom, there's my leaf. So go ahead and try making a stem on your leaf using those tools.
Can you do the reflection tool one more time? From where did you do it?
Sure. So let me. Okay, so I'm holding the shift key down so I can select each one of these pieces. So I've selected all 4 pieces. I'm holding the option key down so I can copy the set of 4. Now they're still selected. I'm going over to the rotation tool, and under the rotation tool is a tool called the reflect tool. It's hidden under the rotate tool. So you want to have the reflect tool, and it's 2 arrows that look at each other. And the way this works is I want them to reflect horizontally. So I'm going to put my crosshairs at the very top of the first circle. I'm going to click it. I'm going to hold my shift key down and come straight to the bottom of the last object, but straight down from the top. And that flips them over. It's a little tricky to get used to using that tool because you have to make the alignments. Did that work for you?
Yeah, it did. Thanks.
Okay, good. All right, any other questions? All right, if you guys want to post some of your leaves or snowflakes into our Slack, feel free to go ahead and add them along where we had our flowers. Go ahead and add them in. we're going to then take a short break because I know this is a lot and we've been like, you know, and it's about 10:38. So we're going to take a short break, and feel free to put some of your designs in our chat room. And then when we come
Professor-
back, we're going to learn about custom brushes. Oh, go ahead. Did someone say something?
Can you again show how to rotate and like the lines on the side?
Can you repeat your question? I'm sorry. Can I
Can
do
you
what?
show how did you rotate?
How did you rotate?
Yeah, the
Okay.
first one, and then how did you duplicate it? Because I'm not getting the right position
So like what we did over on the snowflake or on the leaf here?
on the leaf here.
On the leaf here. Okay. Yes, I can definitely. Let me just do it again. Hold on a second. Okay. I'm going to start from the beginning. So let me just get it back to where it was. Okay. So are you right here? You have
Yeah,
this shape? You have that guy? Okay. Okay, so we have our guy here built, ready to go. We're going to go over to rotate, and we're going to go ahead, and you see how when I click on rotate, the rotate is right in the center. So if I just click to the side, click and drag, I can rotate it any way. If I hold my shift key down, it'll automatically go at 45-degree increments. And so we
Okay.
want it at a 45-degree. You got that?
yeah.
Can I take a break now?
If you finished, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, definitely. We will come back at 40. What is it? 40. We'll come back at 11, I think. We're giving everyone a time to share and finish up what they're doing. Okay, so you have it on an angle here. And then what you want to do is hold your option key down and drag it down to where you want your next stem. And then Command D to give you your repeating shapes.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Does everyone also got the reflect tool? Everyone understanding how to do that? Should I do that again? We got it? Okay, good. All right. Excellent. I will have us all come back at 11, and we'll start into custom. But yeah, share your leaves, share where you're at, what you came up with. This is some nice ideas, nice explorations. Oh, nice. Excellent.